I'm Rob Garland, and welcome to this YouTube series of videos where I talk about motivation and practice. These are a little different to the guitar lessons that I usually teach for TrueFire or at Musicians Institute in Hollywood, in that these are topics I don't often get to talk about. So I want to dig in and give you some ideas that will keep you motivated to pick up the guitar and play. Obviously, I'm not actually holding a guitar, so there's a difference for a start. All right, if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Post comments, and if you have suggestions about upcoming topics, I'd love to hear them. Who is the best guitarist? Websites and magazines love to publish lists with titles like the 100 greatest guitar players and the best guitar player of the year, in the hope of selling some more copies or getting some extra clicks. I may have even been slightly guilty of that in the way I've titled this video, but shh. So this is a topic I like to discuss, okay? How do you compare the playing of one musician with another, all right? Can you compare Django Reinhardt with Eddie Van Halen, or Prince, or Frank Zappa, or The Edge? How do you define the best? Which player has better technique? Which player has the smoothest vibrato? Whose music has affected you more on an emotional level? Who can play through challenging chord changes at the speed of light? I find Joni Mitchell's music to be incredibly moving. I love the fire in Yngwie Malmsteen's playing and his vibrato. But is Joni a better guitar player because I find her music more moving? I've heard many students say, oh, I heard this talented guitar player, or I saw a band live and I just want to quit. That way of thinking makes no sense to me whatsoever, okay? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit here. When we start comparing ourselves to others, it usually means we're experiencing self-doubt and having trouble overcoming mental roadblocks. Let me give you an example. So for many years, I struggled with alternate picking, okay? I grew up at a time where my rock guitar heroes were people like Gary Moore, Steve Lukather, Jake E. Lee, and these guys had incredible alternate picking skills. And I just assumed that to be a competent guitarist, I'd have to have a flawless picking hand, and it was kind of like the fastest gun in the West. However, a few years later, I'd spent a lot of time practicing and it just wasn't happening. A few years later, I realized that I was never going to have a technique like that unless I kidnapped Al Di Meola and forced him to play on my records. I thought about that, but it wasn't practical, as I know I wouldn't do well in prison, so kind of let that go. So I switched my focus to incorporating legato. Legato runs combined with some picking, and then that blend of the two kind of became my style, and I overcame that obstacle. So the point there is, if you build on your perceived weaknesses, they can become strengths. Celebrate what makes you unique as a player. Now, seeing a great player should inspire you. But one thing to remember, even if you're seeing a player and they seem to have it all together, every aspect of their playing seems perfect to you, remember that you're looking at a human being. And, chances are those players have had doubts, they've overcome obstacles, everybody's in the same boat. Players like Jeff Beck have terrible stage fright before they go on. You wouldn't know it when you listen to Jeff Beck, the governor, but it's all part of being human. Now, Jeff Beck, speaking of, and Eric Clapton both said in interviews that when Jimi Hendrix turned up in England in the late 60s, they both wanted to quit playing. They were so utterly blown away by his abilities, they wanted to just give it up. But in reality, I suspect that a little rivalry there was good, and it probably inspired them to work a little harder and develop what it is they were doing. Remove the idea of a competition that you can never win. Now, there's nothing wrong with discussing your favorite players. It's really fun to get together with friends and talk about some of your favorite players and why you like them. But just try to avoid the terminology of so-and-so is a better player than somebody else. I can honestly say, and this is completely true, that after playing guitar for, 30 years, that I still feel a huge thrill when I pick up the instrument and I hold it, close to my body. It's I could play one note, I could play an open string, feel it resonate, and I get this sort of calm come over me, and I sort of feel connected to the vibrations of the universe. Now, I know that sounds really new agey, and my friends from my hometown in England are probably going, "Oh my God, did he just say that?" But it's true. There's something primal, spiritual, however you want to describe it, about the connection of feeling the instrument and playing and having it connect with you. So, if you focus on that, all this other language about competition and who's better, it just goes out the window. It seems so small. So return to the feeling of joy you experienced when you first picked up the guitar. Okay, think about that. Now I used to grab a tennis racket when I didn't have a guitar. I was even in school. I had my ruler, in math class, and I was holding it up, and because I had the frets on it, and I was like, playing that instead of listening to the teacher. I'm not suggesting you do that if you happen to be in school. I'm just saying that I was very connected to the idea of playing guitar from an early age, and I'll leave it at that. A way that you can get beyond this idea of thinking about who's better and competition is to try to listen to and pick up elements of lots of different musical genres, okay? Even if they're not your favorite. The more diverse genres you're exposed to, the more you listen to them play, songs in those genres, or just parts of guitar parts in those genres, the more you do that, the more you're going to bring back elements of them into your own style that you really enjoy playing, or styles, okay? And this is going to define personality in your playing. And it helps you remove the idea of competition, because once you start seeing that there's something to be appreciated from players in all genres, it's pointless to compare them or to compare yourself to them. There's always going to be players out there that perform at a level that completely blow your mind, all right? You just have to make peace with it, all right? So the next time you see a guitar player at a gig or on a YouTube video, rather than compare yourself to them, try to draw inspiration from them, okay? Listen carefully to what they're doing. If there's one particular thing you like, that would be a good thing to focus on. Maybe draw a little bit of that into your own playing. However, be careful, and I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video. One thing I think is lacking from music education at the moment is defining your own voice on the instrument, okay? There's a reason why we gravitate to certain players. They usually have a very unique style. And what makes them unique is that they don't sound like they're trying to copy somebody else. So there's nothing wrong with being inspired by your favorite players and, drawing a little bit of their styles into what you do. But we only need one Stevie Ray Vaughan, one Eric Johnson, one Jimi Hendrix, okay? We don't need another one. So take little bits from lots of different places, just really try to get in touch with who you are as a player, and try to remember, what it was that got you excited about the instrument in the first place. Get back to that feeling, because that's a feeling of pure joy. If you can get back to that feeling, you're going to be very present.